Welcome to Goat District MiLLY BiLLies. This is the first live FFPC main event of the year that we've done on MiLLY BiLLies, and I'm happy to be splitting it with my guy BIPLAP MANDAL, a terrific high-stakes fantasy player. We compete against one another in multiple leagues. We're in the same dynasty league, and we're actually splitting in NFFC. I mean, we're actually competing against each other in the NFFC for the final draft of the year, the final prime time of the year. So Bip and I were talking. We said, let's split a team, and no better time than this. How are you doing tonight, Bip?
Do you hear me, Theo?
Yeah, I hear you. How's everything? Well, we'll go with the intro.
Goat District, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text? That trash offer's the best? You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice, from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man. Y'all know what to do. It's the and I always be trading. And I always be trading. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
All right, Bip, so we are back.
Hey, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, no, I hear you perfect. So we have CMC, Taylor, Justin Jefferson, Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp, and then Jamar Chase to our friend Austin Martin in the 6 hole. We've got a number of guys in our queue for an exciting build here.
Yep.
We have 7 guys queued up. So we're looking good here. Cobb Nation is letting so Cobb Nation goes Stephon Diggs. That was the guy we had in the queue.
Right.
So that's not the end of the world. But that would have been great to get at the 11. You're starting to see him get pushed up. Interesting. Yep. We see Joe Mixon now go off for us a little bit early. Okay, Bip, so we're 2 away here.
You are up next.
Okay. Now 1 away. Travis Kelce's gone. We figured he would not be there for us either anyway. I'm open to starting out with 1, 2, or 3. Let's see which way in our queue. Let's see which way this guy goes.
Yep. Yeah, if 2 or 3 go here, or then, our 1 and 4, the other guy can target, who's behind us. But let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of open to starting with any of these guys. I've got exposure to all of them already. I wish this guy would pick. I think he wasn't interested in that. Okay, so Najee Harris, that was great.
Yep.
So I'm kind of wide open here.
So yeah, who's your first preference here?
So for me, I think 2 or 3 might come back around to us.
Correct, one of them.
So I would go with 1 or 4, depending on your preference. I kind of lead with 1.
I agree. I like 1, 2. So because we can go 1, and then if 2 and 3 are gone, we can just adjust there, right? With 4.
Okay, so I say we go with 1. Do you want to put that 1 in?
Yep, I will make the pick.
Okay, great. So we go with Devontae Adams, who I have slightly behind the wide receivers who went, but it's close. And I think there's a scenario where he outscores all of them. I think the fact that there's kind of like a little bit interesting stuff going on with Darren Waller right now that kind of makes me think that he might not play a full workload. He's been dealing with some injuries, and it's such a consolidated target tree there. I mean, Devontae Adams, he might be slightly less efficient than he was in Green Bay with Carr, but he's going to see an absolute ton of targets. It's very easy to predict it. So I'm happy with the start there, getting Devontae, and I think it kind of leaves us wide open.
Yeah, and I like that. I mean, I more like also that he played with Carr in college, I think, so there's some of that.
Oh, you gotta love the you gotta love that.
Yep.
I think that they've been wanting to play together for a while. Okay, so you see Kyle Pitts go. We had Kyle Pitts consideration. Now we kind of have our choice at running back here.
Yep.
So we have DeAndre Swift and we have Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
We also have CeeDee Lamb as an option.
Yep.
I would kind of like to come out of here balanced with one of the two running backs. I would tend to lean towards Saquon here, but I'm open to what you're thinking about, Bip, with in terms of,
No, I would. His ADP has been rising, so with that in mind, this is a little bit of value based on what I've seen last 7-8 days. I've been trying to get him, but he keeps going in first round. So let's go with him. That also gives us not the same bye week. Yep. So I'll pick him.
Okay, awesome. That's a great start.
Yep, I love it. And then, because we wanted a balanced start, I mean, it's not a big deal, but Adams had the week 6 bye as Swift. I mean, it's not a big deal, but you
we'll keep it in mind as we go along. I mean, it's that definitely would be annoying, but I don't think about it as much.
Yeah, no, I never think about it. I mean, I just observe that maybe to make myself feel better.
Yeah, and to stress yourself out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I love this start, and some of the analysts have Barkley projected as comeback player this year. I won't name the analysts, So
yeah, there's some people that we know that are very sharp that are on that train, and I think that Barkley could lead all running backs in receptions. You should see some improved offensive line play in New York.
Yep.
There's a lot to like about him, and I think he's got a lot to prove. Like, I think that there's a scenario where if we're doing this exact same thing next August, we're having to use a top 5 pick on Barkley, even though he's a year older. There's a chance he could gain value in fantasy. We see DeAndre Swift go. We had DeAndre Swift in our queue. It's very close for me with Saquon and Swift. I have a lot of Swift. I actually have another main event I'm doing with Andrew Schellenberg and the Guilds, and we have a Devontae Adams, DeAndre Swift start. So I'm glad we didn't have the exact same one.
And I have a main event that I do not like from the 12th spot, although some people who have seen it really like the board. I had started Adams and Swift there in 12. But Barkley was gone. That's what I was saying. He keeps going in the first round.
Have you drafted any Derrick Henry, Bip? I know
not in main event, 0. And I'm going to, although some video came out, it seems a couple of days back, where he's asking people to draft. I mean, if I don't have an issue not drafting Henry. I think even if Henry is very good, you can still win your leagues with other running backs and other builds. The only place where Henry can hit you hard not having is if he has that Alvin Kamara type playoff where he goes off and scores 3 or 4 touchdowns, in the championship week. It's very difficult then finishing top 10 or top 20, without those points.
Yeah, it's really an age and a tread on the tires argument. And I also think that the Titans offense could be bad. We had Noah Riddell, super sharp guy, on last night to the pod with Tommy Libretti, and we did like a fades. And I think a lot of people are fading Henry. I said that the one out that he could have is he was on pace to catch almost 40 passes last year.
Yes.
And I think they're going to have to get creative in what they're doing. If he sees a little bump in receptions, I think he could be a top 6 back. But again, it's just, for me, it's too much tread on the tires. I don't like taking a guy that old. End of the second, I'd consider him. I mean, I've seen him fall to right this range, but I wouldn't take him. I know it seems funny, we're talking about a 6-player difference. It's almost like a mini tier, or once CeeDee Lamb goes, you got to kind of make decisions. So Austin Martin has a Jamar Chase, Alvin Kamara start. Team 5 has a Cup Mandrews team. That's pretty dangerous. More Cowbell, really good drafter, as a Jefferson Williams team.
Yeah, even Team 7 is good. I mean, if
Yeah.
AJ Brown, I mean, they really liked AJ Brown, traded for him. Hurts likes him, so that's also a dangerous upside team. But it's too early. I have been doing a lot of balanced starts. I think that is what I like this year, especially in main events and whatnot. Now with football guys, I've probably experimented different kind of starts, but this is what I like, and I have some good teams with this kind of start. Now I've also liked the tight end starts that we talked about. I think Andrews was a little bit value tonight, falling.
Yeah, when Andrews starts going there, I think like when you talk about Andrews going 6 spots behind Kyle Pitts,
yes,
that could be significant value. Again, I love Kyle Pitts, and I think Team 12, potentially has a tremendous start. I'm not trying to deter people from taking Pitts at the turn, but if it does push Mandrews down, he becomes a lot more appealing there than like having to take him at the 1-2 turn.
Yeah.
Now I see McCaffrey went 1 in this draft, Bip. Are you going McCaffrey when you get 101s?
I'm not, and part of it is I've been I think right now I'm tracking my count of starts. So one of my tiebreakers for McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor is also week 13, because if you are really missing Jonathan Taylor in week 14, that means you are in championship, and so for me, also what matters is getting into the championship, right, versus also winning your league, and you are going to miss McCaffrey in that semi-final. So if you do not win your either total points or best record, you need that week 13 running back, right? So it's not a big deal, but that's my tiebreaker. I have some McCaffreys. In fact, early in the season, I have taken Justin Jefferson over McCaffrey at the 2 spot.
So we see DJ Moore was selected. We had him in the queue. That's a little disappointing. He's moved up. So if you're getting the 101, are you usually going with wide receiver at the 2-3 turn? Do you think that's the max way to put your advantage with one of these top backs?
Yeah, I have been doing that, but then I also realize a lot of teams are doing that, right? So I've done a draft where I went Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Adams, and Travis Etienne at 1, 2, 3.
That
and
could
then
be very unique.
I just painted yellow after that, and then took a tight end like Cole Kmet or someone later. We'll see. I just punted there. So that's a build I've done. But yeah, I think what team 1 is doing is a pretty predictable start that I've done. It may not be McCaffrey, but I might have a similar start with Jonathan Taylor.
I have a McCaffrey, Michael Pittman main event team. We're actually went with Tyreek Hill, who I'm not drafting a whole lot of, but I thought that in the range of outcomes, it's a potentially really dangerous combination. So I didn't want to pass it up there. But Pittman there, I liked a lot. We see James Conner go slightly ahead of ADP. Team 5 has a fairly unique build. I'd imagine there's not too many Cup, Mandrews, Conner teams in the main event. So that's an interesting one. I added a couple guys to the queue.
I let me refresh because I only see.
I'm not huge into number 4 in our
queue.
Me
Me neither. I see only 4 guys there. You see that, right?
Yeah, I see the 4th guy I kind of wouldn't want to take. And you see Team 6 follows up Alvin Kamara with Travis Etienne. We have the top 3 in our queue I would be very open to.
Number 3 is interesting there.
Interesting for sure.
Yeah, and then the other thing I was finishing, what I was saying is I liked a Jefferson start at 1.2 because many times I prefer a Javonte or Aaron Jones in second round, and that again gives me the balanced build that I'm looking for. I know not a lot of people are, but I'm hugely into Javonte this year. I think he could win people leagues this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes as a top 3, top 5 back this year.
Yeah, I think that, if he certainly has the touchdown upside in that offense, and if it's more like 65-35 with Melgo, which I think could happen. And I think it's also like Javonte might start the year in a little bit more of a split, but kind of down the stretch run, they kind of lean on him. I think that could also happen.
Yeah.
So we have 5 guys. I added 2 more to the queue.
There's actually 10 guys now. I threw in some more.
Okay, cool. Number 1 or number 2 would be my preference here, unless they go. Number 4 is interesting to me. Do you like 4 or 5?
Goes a guy that I would have considered discussing. There goes Kittle.
Yeah, Kittle would be interesting.
I think number 4, recent news.
You are up next.
Makes me thankfully Keenan Allen goes there.
Yeah, Keenan Allen was one that I'm not really into.
Yeah, we are good. We'll get 1 or 2 here.
Yeah, we'll get 1 or 2.
Yeah, 3 I'm not so sure, and maybe
then let's pass on him and we will pivot.
Yeah, and I didn't want to give out hints to others, who is 3, but we can talk after 4.2 is done.
Yeah, absolutely. And also number 12 is running back tight end. So we'll kind of keep that in mind in our tiebreakers here.
Glad we pick before that team. Yeah. And I'm not going to sway you here. Number 6 is someone I'm blindly in. I think I'm overexposed there. Oh wow, this is great.
So this is great. I think we take number 1, which is a guy we both really, really like.
Absolutely.
This is a great, easy selection for us.
Yep. And I have been trying to get him so much, and his ADP keeps rising, So you bring the good luck tonight.
Hopefully it keeps going, Vip. Hopefully it keeps going.
with 2 and 3.
Yeah, this is a fun team so far. I really hope we're coming back around. There's 2 picks here. He seems wide open because he's got a running back and he's got a tight end. Now he takes a wide receiver. Allen Robinson, absolutely.
Someone we were talking about. Yep.
Let's see which way he goes here.
You're on the clock.
Oh,
okay. So this is an easy pick for me.
Easy pick for me. Number one. Right?
Number 1, easy.
Okay.
Smash it.
Yep. Because I didn't want to talk about now our number 2 in the queue. I told you, right? The exposure there.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people like him, the way I do, but he could be a fun player this year. Once he's selected, we can kind of talk about him. I definitely like him, but I don't like him more than so to me, I'm fading Keenan Allen, not because I dislike the player. I just think that even if he loses 10% of his targets, you're talking about I think he'll fall off big. And I think Mike Williams is kind of ascending. They've paid him a ton of money. He's younger. And he's a receiver 3, man.
Yeah. I think that, and also I think the fact that Josh Palmer is kind of getting a little more love in camp, is going to make it just a slight hit. And I'll take the guy who I think has the highest touchdown upside, and that's Big Mike Williams.
And a high ceiling, for those deep passes. And isn't Palmer more a slot guy, right? Or have you seen him play out?
I would imagine Palmer would play the slot, and I don't know if they would be able to move Keenan Allen around, but they also move Big Mike around a little bit. So I think that offense could be kind of varied. Plus, you have Eckler getting a targets. I just think that Williams has such touchdown upside. This could be his real smash season. Last year, he was wide receiver 1 up there with Kupp for the first 5 weeks of the season. Then he was hurt for the middle, and then he finished very strongly. So, if you take away the weeks where he was hurt, he was crushing. We see Josh Allen go first QB off the board. Team 10 has no wide receivers. We'll keep that in mind. They go with Darren Waller.
Yep. So, we can talk about what Team 9 took. A player I really liked this year, that's Gabe Davis, right? And one of the reasons, I was looking at some stats and matrices, his touchdown ratio to targets was insane. Now, he didn't evolve until late last season, but I feel he's uncoverable, and they really like him. So we'll see. I think Diggs will still get his 150 targets or share, but that team is a very, very passing focused offense. So we'll see what happens.
No, for sure. I think that and there goes Jalen Waddle, who we had in the queue. Yep. That's a good pick by Austin.
Yeah, that's very good value there. I think the injury narrative has moved his ADP down. I think he's hurt. I guess he'll still be
Yeah,
ready, but,
I don't think it's it's as concerning. I think people just have like it's like those small corrections where people allow him to slide down slightly. But I have some Waddle, and I'm not too worried about it. I think he'll be there week 1. We have team number 5, who's been somewhat unique with the Connor pick, and he goes Brandon Cooks. So team number 5, I kind of like what he's done.
Takes a high floor, cushions WR2. Yep.
Yeah, no, I like that one. You could tell this is a pretty experienced room because there's not really any really noticeably bad picks or ugly builds so far. I'm sure we'll probably dislike a few teams by like round 7, but right now I don't really hate anyone.
Yeah, I mean, no one's leaving value on the board, although team 10 is pretty unique, and I would say that's pretty interesting build. I never build like that, but I'm very curious to see what team 10 does for rest of the draft.
Well, team 10 kind of leaned into 2 guys that people are fading, but certainly Harris and Henry are going to get a ton of volume to start the year. Chubb's going to get a ton of volume.
Yep.
And I think people are a little scared off by the Cleveland offense, but Chubb will get a ton, and you're taking Chubb towards the tail end of the 3rd round. Yep. So
I got him on 4th last night.
I know that was a really good pick for you.
And I didn't come planned for him, but I couldn't pass him there. That's where you need to adjust and not stay stubborn, I would say, with the build you want. In fact, last night I would have taken Terry McLaurin there, but Chubb was there, so I just couldn't pass him.
Team 1 took Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown. I thought they got very good value on Hollywood.
Yep.
Where are you at on Juju? Have you been taking Juju?
No, I wouldn't take Juju. I would take Juju if he comes to the end of 5th and I see Herbert on the board and I have a chance to stack him with Mahomes, right? But my issue with Juju is, last 2 years he's not done much. He has this lingering knee issue, that really worries me. And then there are other players on that team that I'm very, very interested in this year, including Kelsey. And so that's one reason, I've not had. I won't take Juju at this price. Let's put it that way. Now, Theo, where it is getting interesting when we get to Vegas is look at the ADPs, and some of these painting yellow that's going on. So it'll be very interesting. I mean, even look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, where he went here, and when the main event started, the slow ones, he was going end of 5th sometimes, right? So that's interesting. I'm going to throw some guys in the
I put 2.
You already put 2 guys that I really like a lot. I'll throw some other names.
And I'm gonna put one that could be interesting in the 6th round.
Yeah, I think I know, and I saw. Yeah, our thoughts match so much.
Yeah,
you are talking about number 5, right?
Yeah, no,
I was going to throw him in
tonight. We're definitely in tune, and let's just hope, because right now we have 5 guys in the queue.
Yeah,
and 6 spots
and Thursday night I do the bare knuckles, so I'm playing in my head who are the guys I would target if I'm front of the draft or back of the draft.
Are you doing the bare knuckles solo, or are you doing? Oh, David Montgomery goes there, so that's
this year solo. I think Vince didn't want to do it. I think it was stressful. I think for both of us, we did it first time last year. But he said he wanted to enjoy the Thursday night and not be thinking about it. So I'm going solo.
Bare knuckles is brutal. If anybody's watching, that's a no sheet, no computer, no iPad, no phone. You were just on an island yelling out names. So BIP is pretty much needs to know 20 rounds of players.
Yeah, and I love that.
A lot of people split it, so they do the first 10 rounds and the second 10 rounds, but you're a maniac, so you're just going to crush it, BIP.
Well, the other person who is more passionate than me, I think, is Mike Shop of Draft Sharks. And every time he and I talk, he is so passionate about it. I think he's already ready. Shout out to Mike. But it's a fun draft, but it's not as hard as you think. I mean, the way I prepare is I just think of players I would take first or back or middle. And then based on my position, I'll just
shout out to Frank Laprade. I didn't realize Frank is in as more cowbell. Shout out to Frank. Frank's a great viewer of Goat District, really sharp drafter.
Yeah,
and he's putting together a nice build. Kevin Wheeler in the chat, one of the best rankers in the country. my boy 1912, great loyal Go District listener. So the chat is lit. I'm not as good as JD as at doing the whole chat thing, guys. So bear with me. Bip, we're in the hole here.
Yep.
One would be kind of an interesting build and a smash for me if he's there. I don't think 10's going to take him.
What about 2 or 6? What do you think?
I'm okay with either. I also like 5 and I also like 3. I feel a little less pressure because we have a running back and 3 wide receivers. I think we're pretty much wide open. It's kind of who makes us the most dangerous.
You are on the clock.
Okay, so one of them goes.
Okay, so Godwin went, and you had him queued up.
Yeah.
In my opinion, we take number 1 because number 12 structurally he would make some sense to them, and I think we like 2, we like 5, and we like 3. So if we take 1, I think we'll get one of those guys. I'm not crazy about 4.
Yeah, me neither. That's great. Yeah, I'm just thinking if 12 takes 2 or 1, but if you like 1 really a lot, we can take 1 here.
I just think it's the game theory here. One kind of allows us to be set, and 1 also we won't have to try to chase at that position if we take 1.
Yeah, no, let's go for it.
Let's take them. Okay, so smash it, Bip.
Yep. Okay. Done.
All right, so we took AJ Dillon, which gets us our RB2. I always feel like I miss out on Dillon in these drafts, and I really like him. It's some people are having trouble with the pick. To take him at RB21 is slightly aggressive, but I think he could really pay off. I think Rogers was talking about him being a 50 catch guy.
Yeah, both of them being. Yeah.
You are up next.
Yeah, no, there's tremendous upside, and with Aaron Jones in the injury history. So we are going to get 1 or 2 here.
We'll definitely get 1 or 2. Shout out to Frank. He's talking about Waller having the soft contract, soft tissue injury. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's a double combination of being slightly banged up and then and slightly wanting more money.
Yeah. And so, you called it right with 1. See what happened behind him, right?
So it was a good pick to take Dillon there because he went bang running backs, and I think we like Dillon more than those 2. So right now we're between 1 and 2 and 4. 1, you seem to be really into 1, Bip. Why don't we take 1 if that's the
because going and we can probably adjust on 2 or 3 type of players later. So we'll go 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
1, I'm good with 1. I think he's a very easy pick here. I think he'll get a lot of volume.
And that's the receiver you're talking about.
Yeah, number 1.
Done.
Okay, so we took Darnell Mooney, and we also had they're not gonna come back to us. We had Elijah Moore in consideration, and we had Dallas Goedert in consideration. They should probably go this round, but we'll be able to make up for it. Let me get a couple more of these comments in the chat. We got the Echo remix on that track. There you go. Shout out Wheeler. Frank. We already got that one. Saquad. Absolutely, Wheeler. We're excited to have him. MP60 DC from Munich. Shout out to greetings from Germany at 4 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. It's awesome that you're tuning in. Hope you crush it this year, MP. And I see you with all those best ball teams you're building. Tommy Libretti, last year's primetime and Silver Bullet champion in the NFFC, is tuning in. He loves Adams there. Tommy, we had on this summer, and Devontae Adams, at least about a month and a half ago, was his wide receiver 1 overall.
Yep.
So I imagine it looks like he's still on that boat. Tommy won with 0 RB or kind of upside down drafts. He's a very, very sharp drafter. We had him on last night with Noah. Tommy was great, and we want you to check out his podcast, Moose on a Hill. It's very, very good. CP, this is a full point PPR with tight end premium, CP.
Yeah. I feel much better with a pick in 6th round also, looking at what happened in next 2 picks.
Shout out to Dave Gladstone. Dave Gladstone's watching tonight. Ryan Turner. Shout out to Snooze. And Tommy Libretti's also an AJ Dillon guy. I remember that one, Tommy. But yeah, like Bip, like to me, like AJ's just like AJ to me can finish as an RB1, and I don't think it's going to take like some sort of Aaron Jones missing the whole season. Like I keep hearing the argument that Aaron Jones is going to be this year's Kamara, and I would love to see it. Like that's rational coaching where we're going to pepper Aaron Jones with targets because we don't have wide receivers, but like he's never had more than 68 in his whole career. So they're going to I think it's just a slightly wishful thinking to think he's going to be like a 100 target guy this year. Dylan caught like 34 passes last year in year 2.
Yep.
I mean, a guy that's like 250 pounds with that kind of receiving ability. He led them in touchdowns, rushing scores. He also led them in rushing yardage. Again, Jones missed a little time, but Dylan took a big step forward, and I think we've got a player on the ascent. So,
and here's a fun thing, Theo. This morning it was 53 degrees outside, and my backyard I see a plant already turning red. So I don't know if winter comes early this year, and Dylan's a bully playing in Green Bay.
100%. You and Austin Martin and Dan Williamson, all these Minnesota guys, man. You guys are 53 in the morning. That sounds tough. I'm on Long Island. It's still steamy. So
why don't you make a trip here and hang out with us?
Yeah, 100%. It's actually some tremendous.
We can probably go on the lake and do a boat district.
Kyle Hilsheim is also a Minnesota guy. Been on the GOAT District. He won the NFFC Primetime 2 years ago. So you guys are doing really well with high stakes players out of the state of Minnesota. You see back-to-back tight ends, Dallas Goedert and TJ Hawkinson go.
Yep.
Goddard's kind of leaped him, but not much. You're usually seeing Goddard go ahead of him. So in this draft, you see them both go back-to-back. And then Team 5 has a double tight end build. They're going to have kind of a unique team.
Yeah. I like what Austin and Seth are doing there, but experienced drafters, that team can be very dangerous if you look at the players they've gotten. Huge upside there, but both Hawkinson and Goddard, I actually like them, and I think they can finish above Kittle, Waller, or Schultz this year.
I agree. I mean, I think that they both have big time potential. Goddard to me is just a stud, and I think that he could beat his ADP. And then Hawkinson, it's going to be interesting because I think that ARSB and Swift are going to command targets. You've got Jameson Williams coming later. But Hawkinson was like 12 points a game last year in regular PPR, and he was banged up. So he did take a slight step forward, but defenses were able to focus on him. And I think that the fact that the offense is better, the offensive line is great. I think that it could be like a thing where he maybe sees a little less target share, but like the pie grows and he beats ADP that way. So I don't mind either one of them. I like taking them in the 6th more than I like taking Dalton Schultz in the 5th.
Correct.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I will take Schultz just to mix up and be a bit unique, because if he falls to say 5'10", 5'11", just gives me a different combination than what I've been drafting. But I'm with you otherwise. That's a 6th round target.
So Bip, we have a pretty nice looking queue here.
Yeah, I was throwing some players in, although we don't need to go 1 or 2. I just threw them there.
5, 1, 2, 6, 7. I like the most at this point.
Yeah, I mean, 5 is my first preference. 3 and 6, thinking championship. That's where I'm starting to get interested. 7, I'm probably not as high as others, but I get it. I do like 8, but we may not need it. And then 10, again, a championship focused player that I really like this year.
I'm slightly off of 10.
Really?
I think you might just have to wait for so long. And I think I think his role will be growing.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of like at this point in the draft, I'd rather have somebody we can use.
Correct.
Because I think we'll have exposure to upside with our next 2 picks.
I agree. And then looking at our team, we may not need that player, but I agree with you. You need to get the build complete. But I'm just letting you know that someone, come Vegas, I'm probably even getting more aggressive there. I do feel he will have a role sooner than later.
He's certainly a very talented guy. So there goes Brandon Ayuk, who was the guy we had queued up. That's a nice pick right there.
Is it Austin? No, not the team.
No, that was one pick ahead of Austin. I'm pretty sure Austin would have taken him. I'm going to put Austin on a quarterback right here. I'll see which way he goes, but I'm putting him on a quarterback.
Yep. Or he may wait. Let's see what he does. Yeah, but that would be. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and shout out to Snooze, who makes a good point that if Smith or Brown miss time, like Goddard's going to see a 22, 23% target share. It's a very clear target tree.
Yep.
Ryan Turner, our Mooney
he's
pick.
A good passer. Yep. I mean, we have 4 receivers who could finish receiver 1 this year. All of them.
Yeah, I think that for me, like I'm super happy we got Mooney. I just have question marks about the offense. Like I think his ceiling's slightly capped, but again, as our wide receiver 4, he's got a chance at, like, if he's going to finish up there, he's got to have 160 targets. And I think he's probably more likely to have a closer target total than he did last year.
Right.
So again, I think it's a good pick for us. But like, I love the Mike Williams pick. I love the Sutton pick. Yeah, I think those two guys could absolutely smash. So I was right, Austin. We put you on a QB, and you went with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
get your Bateman Lamar stack, and you got it in the middle of 7th.
It's interesting though, right? Because I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm very high on Bateman this year, and if he came to our pick, I would have discussed, and I'm sure you would have liked him. But Bateman still has Andrews ahead of him. Whereas Mooney, he showed a lot of talent last year, and I just feel they don't have anybody else on that team, for those to be a wide receiver 1. But we'll see how it shapes out the season. He looked good in camp, but everyone looks good probably.
So you do not like number 4? Because I think number 4 could be interesting.
Oh no, we could. I mean, it's all about upside, and I do think 4 makes sense over 6 any day. I'm just surprised. That's how the
5 I'm a little worried about.
Yeah, me too. I just threw the name there, but 5 I'm getting off the board, and 5 probably doesn't make sense on this team if you look at our roster.
Yeah, you're right. So there goes Josh Jacobs, the guy we did not have in the queue.
Yeah. What about 3? Thinking about number 3, but let's see what happens.
3 might make it back though, because if you look at
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think more likely than not, let's see where number 10 does, and we kind of talk it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't need to get cute with number 1, right?
No, I think that's got to be the. I think he's the pick if you want to. I mean,
no, let's not do that. I don't see the value. I mean, then it is 1 and 2, but 1 and 2 doesn't make sense. Probably.
You are on the clock.
Okay, so Dameon Pierce goes. So we don't have that. To me, BIP right now. To me,
3.
The most dangerous build is 3.
And I agree with you, 100%.
But I'll throw it out there. Does he make it back if we take 1?
Probably not, because if you look at that other team, that has some deficiencies there. If you look at Team 12, I mean, we really don't need 1. We could live with 6.
Yeah. Let's take 3.
Yep.
And if 1 is there when we pick again, I think we take him.
Yeah, I agree with you. Otherwise, we'll wait for 6. Okay.
So let's take number 3, and I like that pick right there a lot.
Yep.
Okay, so we take Drake London. Team 12 is going to pick back-to-back. If number 1 is gone, which way are you leaning? Because we're kind of wide open.
What about 6? Do you like him this year?
Yes, I think 6 right here makes some sense.
Or I will throw some players, just to compare.
I think 6 is a very good player, and I think in the 8th round, he wouldn't hurt us.
Correct.
I think the fact that this person hasn't picked yet
you are up
means
next.
we might
And I like the pick.
Okay.
See what goes. You know. So
Yeah. So let's see, because we might not have to pivot. I think we might get the top guy in our queue. Let's see which way he goes, though. Here, number 12.
there's two worries me a little bit. You know.
Two worries
Now
me
you are on
a
the
lot
clock.
bit. Okay, so we see George Pickens go. Well, I think this is an absolute layup.
Yeah.
In the 8th round.
I agree with you. Why leave it for others, right? And even though we don't,
So we don't necessarily, we didn't want to take him where we took London, but I think right here is a no-brainer. I think we smash number 1 here, Bip.
Okay, I'm picking.
And you also get the final week correlation play.
Yep.
The two offenses going head-to-head. So we're kind of running pure a little bit with that pick. That's a really great value.
Yeah, and didn't want to leave it for others. You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we get. Let me scroll down because now the board is. Yeah, let me go to the draft board. I'm going to scroll down. See if this is a little bit better. Okay, so we can see the board a little bit better. My apologies if it was hard to read. George Pickens and Robert Woods, sort of the polar opposites, go. Team 12 takes
I bet they would have taken Drake, or they would have taken Drake London with the Pickens pick. You know,
100% they would have taken Drake. So I think like getting Drake London there as our wide receiver 5 is super dangerous. Olave goes now, but gosh, I love the fact that we got 8th round Kyler Murray. That's really good right there.
Yeah, I was watching some ship chasing drafts. I think they have been taking London in 6th round, so that was great value where we got it.
And I doubt he makes it back to us in the 9th, so I don't like table talk here. But Uncle Andy's saying was Tony in the yes. So I took Tony this week. I've taken Tony a lot, but I have a lot of exposure to Tony. I think him and London are close, but it was. For me, I'm happy we got London. I don't want to say I have enough Tony, but I've got a ton of Tony.
Yeah.
And he's always got something nagging.
Yeah. So Tony, I always liked his talent, and I was excited this year. So like you, Theo, a lot of early football guys, I have him. But where I'm disappointed is he's still hurt, right? And this is a new offense, new regime. So, I just don't know if he will remain healthy. But like you said, he's still not gone. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, so I like this team a lot. It's actually worked out pretty well. And what's funny is, like, when I'm picking at the back end, I usually really, really like the 2nd round pick, obviously.
Yep.
Then the 3rd and the 4th, you kind of hold your breath a little bit, but it actually worked out quite well.
It did, because one of the nights I was left with Allen Robinson and my favorite Gabe Davis there. I mean, Sutton and Williams I'll take any day. There's Frank is saying he went in 6th round London. So
yeah, I took when I had the 101 in an FFPC main, I took Drake London at like the 611 I took him either the 701 or the 612. I took him right at that turn. So I think where we got him was great value. Even if he misses a game or two, we're pretty set at wide receiver.
Yeah.
So the Dylan pick ended up working out pretty well for us because we didn't feel like we were having to force.
I agree, Theo, and that's great. We are drafting together, because likely if I were drafting solo, I would have gone there, Mooney there, and probably taken Goddard the next round, and so I would have missed out on a running back. But if I knew London was coming back, right, I wouldn't have had those thoughts. So yeah, that was excellent value there, considering what Team 12 did there with Dobbins and Mitchell.
Apologize for the slightly PG-13 comment by my man Wheeler. That's a great analogy, though, Wheeler. Great analogy.
Yeah.
So we're coming up around. You're starting to see the wide receivers in the 8th round. You start seeing, some of these upside guys go. You see Kadarius Toney go to Team 7. You see Rondell Moore go to Austin Martin. That's a nice pick for his build.
Yep.
You're gonna so teams 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're pretty yellow. So I think I'm not sure if you'll see straight wide receivers going here, but it's a possibility it'll be really dried up. I'm going to put a couple more guys in our
Yep,
queue.
yep. I'm going to work on that now. Let's see.
Yeah, but it's just wide receiver really gets beat up, and you never know when it's going to get beat up in these mains. It just like the fact that Claypool's going there, Rondell Moore went, Sky Moore went. Like a lot of our upside wide receivers are gone. There's a few veteran wide receivers that I think will be pushed in now.
Yep.
So our queue is interesting. I like the position we're looking at because I think it's very good value and it would kind of balance us out a little bit. But I'm kind of wide open, even though
me too. And we probably need to see how this evolves. I just threw in a guy at number 8 that I don't know.
I love him.
Oh, you love him? Yeah, I don't know what you feel about him, but I think he could be a potential game winner.
I like him a lot. I think he would be one I'd be definitely open to. But honestly, like we have 10 guys queued up, and
we could talk about.
I don't dislike really any of them. So there goes Pat Freiermuth, which was the tight end we had queued up. He had the third most fantasy points of any rookie tight end in the last 10 years, and now he's kind of going, at that tight end 2 line right after Komet. So Freiermuth's interesting because I think people are kind of down on the Pittsburgh offense, but if it's Kenny Pickett, I could see him really meshing with Freiermuth. So Team 4 could have gotten a gift there. There's also a chance that he doesn't pay off at that ADP, but I don't want to be shut out on Pat Freiermuth in my exposure.
Oh, me neither. I mean, I know you and I tried to work out a trade. Unfortunately, both of us liked him in Dynasty last year. You remember the conversation?
I ended up moving. So it was in our 500 Dynasty League. We were discussing a Freiermuth ARSB trade. It was Freiermuth plus. I didn't do it, and then I ended up making a trade where I traded Albert O and David Montgomery for James Conner. So I moved to a different tight end. So it just wasn't meant to be. Bip. We're both too tight on our trades. Nico Collins goes to Austin. That's a really good pick because that was one we would have considered. I'm going to put a guy in the queue that I don't think is this round, but I think.
Sure. Yeah, I think Collins was a bit of reach though over here. I think he's going in 11th or 12th.
So he is, but I think that he's like one of the last upside guys. So I think that Austin pushing him up to get his wide receiver 5 makes sense because like Nico could be the number 2 target on Houston. He's a second-year wide receiver. He gets Rondell and he gets Nico, so he's making 2 bets on second-year guys. So like I've pushed Nico up in like NFFC where it's a little more wide receiver heavy because sometimes it's crazy runs. I'm going to put one more wide receiver in the queue that I think might be pushed up. I just put him at the end.
Yeah, that number 9, we don't need to take him here. Is someone there goes.
So like you're seeing everybody go. This is why we we have 5 wide receivers we're pretty comfortable with.
Correct. I love our start more based on what's going on here.
So you see what happens when you don't take wide receivers in this format. Like number 8 took a tight end 2 over a wide receiver, so he misses out on Tony, Moore, Claypool, Wilson, Lockett, Collins.
You are up next.
And he has Dotson as his wide receiver 3. That's kind of tough. Yep. So I like number 1 a lot. Which way would you lean here?
So there are interesting guys to talk about: 1, 5, 6, and 8.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I actually just took 8 right in this range, like out of the 12 spot.
And I also like 6. We could go 6 and see what comes back. 1, my worry is, let's see what this guy does. I don't want to giveaway, but there's a comment I wanted
Let's
to.
Let's see what he does.
Yeah.
Frank is saying he thinks it'll be Kenny Pickett sooner or later. I agree with you, Frank. If I was, it would be. I would start him week one. But
okay, so he took Damian Harris. So one, I think played tonight, and that I was wondering why, with other guys missing.
Maybe they wanted to get him more reps.
Okay.
Like who is the one player that you don't? Who, like, it looks to me like number 12 is going to take a running back because he's taking four
Yep.
wide receivers here.
Yep.
He might also go with the QB.
Yep.
There's
So one thing we could do is take 7, and then for sure 1, 2, or 3 comes back. That is an option, but I don't know what.
Yeah, I'm okay if you like 7 more than the younger ones.
I like 3 the most out of all of these.
Okay, so then I think he'll be their next pick.
Correct.
So
yeah.
Make a choice between 1, 5, and 7. It's your call, Bip.
Yeah, I'm going 7. Okay.
Okay, take them.
All right.
Now, 3, 1, and 4 to me are all sort of interesting. I do think the fact, so we take Antonio Gibson, who's just completely beat up. I did the same thing in a draft with Andrew Schellenberg and the Guilds. It's like, I don't know. I'm not giving up on him, and I do think that there's outs where he can return value.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me him going here. So you see Treylon Burks go.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If the other guy gets hurt, for God's sake, this guy had 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns last year.
Honestly, I think it's, to me.
Okay.
I think it's number 1, Bip, even though that it could be, because, like, to me, 3 needs an injury, 2 needs an injury, 1 could potentially just take it.
I think you like him. You really are feeling him, so we can go 1 because I have the other build. So they are very close.
You have a lot of 4. I have 4. A lot of 4 as well.
Correct.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, and 4 may even come back. You never know, although he may not. But
okay, so let's take number 1. Okay. This is our upside play. And it's a great offense, so we're getting exposure to as well.
And a free look.
Exactly. And that's an interesting, you bring up the free look. There was, I think it was Connor Allen on Twitter today was talking about how he could see, I think it was Allen Robinson was who he was saying was going to move up big time. And that, where we basically, so if anybody's unfamiliar with it, if you're drafting in Vegas in FFPC or NFFC or FFWC, there's most of the drafts are after Thursday. There's even a draft Thursday night right after the game. All 3 of them have it. It's usually a high stakes one too, where ADPs move. Like if you recall the shootout between Dallas and Tampa Bay last year, like Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, they shot up. Gronkowski shot up. Fournette shot up. It's going to happen again this year. Like if Stephon Diggs goes out and has 2 touchdowns and 150 yards, he might be the number 1 pick in some drafts. So like James Cook getting a free look, if James Cook has, a 6-catch game, we can put him into our starting lineup. And also, Bip, I think that there's he doesn't have to do a whole lot to gain value in game 1. Like if James Cook just looks like the passing down back, then I think that he's going to shoot up and be like a 7th round pick. So I like taking him here.
No, I agree. And then the interesting piece would be, what I would look for is if they don't expose him, I have a feeling Buffalo blows out the champions in that game. And it might be a Singletary game. And, his ADP will then fall, right? And so again, in these tournaments, I will be looking for it. The other good point, what you were talking about Diggs, I think what some of the teams are doing is if they are volume players and have 5 or 6 drafts after Thursday night, they are probably trying to get the Diggs value, before he shoots up to 1.1 if he erupts that night. Similarly, if Gabe Davis scores 2 touchdowns, I think he's going early second. I think he's going top 15 picks.
Without a doubt. I mean, if any of the wide receivers have whichever of the four wide receivers absolutely crush it,
Yep.
Are going to shoot up an ADP. It's basically like free points.
Yep.
And on the flip side of that, like if you think it's going to be a blowout, and Josh Allen, so Josh Allen goes like in his kind of his own tier this year. But if he has 4 touchdowns passing and for 350 yards and rushes for 40 yards in game one, he'll go higher because people want that big game. So I remember Brady had a smash game and he went higher. Dak Prescott moved up ADP after that first game. So I think it's generally better to not go nuts after game one. Although a guy like Fournette, where they kind of show you that the ADP was wrong and he's clearly this, then you can push a guy up. But you don't want to go absolutely bonkers because of one game. It usually doesn't pay off.
Yeah. So Cobb Nation takes Rashad White, the other player we both were talking about.
And Austin takes Michael Carter, and then Team 5 takes Melgo. We see Frank take Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson's super interesting because it looks like a little bit more of a split this year.
But he has a free look. I like it in 10th round because if Akers gets hurt and then his ADP may shoot.
You could see Akers drop big time that first weekend if it looks like anything. And Frank also had a structural need for a running back. So I think he did pretty well with Penny and Henderson as his 2 and 3 after his very strong start. Team 1 takes Isaiah McKenzie and Josh Palmer. Just goes to show you wide receiver is drying up a bit. I have queued up a few guys. I know you have as well. I really like 4 and I really like 5 and I like 2 and 1. 6 is interesting.
I think 2 and 1 may not come back.
I don't think they'll be there. I don't think they'll be there either. But if they are, I think either one's a layup. 4 and 5 are both in a pretty good spot. I know that 5 people are not as excited about anymore. I just don't see a way that
4 I have some concerns though in that offense, and I don't know what his ADP is. Let me check.
This would be a push up, but I think that he's headed here.
Sure.
Because I think he's going to but I think he's got a weekly role. Whereas number 2 seems more like a guy that I'd like in best ball. Where I think 2, we kind of need some things to happen where we'd ever feel comfortable starting him.
Correct.
Like to me, number 3 is kind of like Christian Kirk last year, where he's kind of overlooked. And then after week 1, he might have, people are going to say, why didn't I use the easy pick on him because he's in such a good spot.
We can do it. It seems you are feeling it. And that's the beauty of sharing and diversifying. I don't have a lot of 3, so I don't mind it on this team, right?
Where are you on number 7? Are you into him at all?
No, so it scares me. But what I wanted to ask you is 7, 8 at some point. Players like them, we probably have to discuss looking at our team. That's where
I'm open to going with one of them with one of these 2 picks. But if you're off 7, that's not a guy I want to consider.
Yeah, if you are not into 7, we can skip 7. What do you think about? I don't know. I'm not getting good vibes about 12, who I liked earlier, but I don't know what you feel about 12.
You mean number? I guess you would be number 11 because somebody just took somebody out of the queue. Am I looking?
Oh, I still have 12. Maybe it's not refreshed.
Did I X out somebody by accident?
I now number 11, so I was held up.
Okay, so
number 11.
He scares me.
Okay, so we stay off him.
I think that you might be able to get him a little later too. Like I know sometimes he goes in this range.
Yeah, no, I'm not hugely into him. Someone I was relying early season, but looking at some of the preseason usage, so we are not there. Not that we need him. Interestingly, I threw a guy. We can take off number 12. He's still around.
So it's interesting to me that the teams that waited on QB are getting somewhat of a gift because Trey Lance is still there. I don't know if people are soured on him because of the trade against the Houston, but I think that's just a silly reason to fade him.
Kyler was great for us in 8.
Oh, without a doubt. And
All right,
Russell
so
Wilson's still,
we are coming
Russell
up.
Wilson's still on the board. I got to imagine that Team 10 is probably going to go QB here if I had to bet on it, because
and Team 12 probably. Yeah.
Team 10 to me should go QB, because Team 12 needs one too, and I would want my pick of the two.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's where they're at. They're also on only 3 wide receivers.
Wide receivers. But that's what you were talking about a little earlier. You know, receivers are king in these
Yeah, they're
drafts.
really, the wide receivers are just getting wiped out.
And this is only going to, I don't know how many main events you have left, Theo, before Vegas. This is going to get worse in next 1 week. So I'm happy I did a lot early.
We have a main event with the GOAT district. So there's Russell Gage. I had him in the queue.
Yep.
He's kind of like a beat up like.
But Brady
distressed
asked for him, you know. And what do you think about? Oh boy.
Okay, so that was DJ Shark we had in the queue. That's a guy that I'm into.
Interesting. Yeah, I need to
I think
do
he's
more.
moving up. I think that like he's a great, like, I think like, so shout out to Billy Muzio. That's his guy this year.
Okay.
He talks about him on pods. But I've been drafting a good amount of Shark. Like, I think you could get Shark a couple rounds later, a couple weeks back, but
Sure.
he has such a clear path with Jameson Williams out. Bip, we're one away. If
Yeah,
number
what
one
do you
is there,
think
we gotta
about
take him.
13? I threw another guy, 13, or you are worried?
I don't see him yet. I see the
Oh, or the last guy in the queue. Is there a private chat here? This is a private chat, right?
hold
Says
on.
private chat.
Yeah, go for it.
Now you are on the clock.
All right.
Well, I mean, Bip, this is we gotta take number one. I know it's
I know. I mean, the upside is huge, right? With number 1.
Yeah, and the fact that he would be our RB4, it's nothing like.
RB5, I think. Is it not?
Excuse me, you're right, RB5. I think it's a no-brainer. To get him this late.
Yeah, let's do it, and then we don't need to look at that position for a while. Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
So go for it.
Going for it.
I mean, if we don't even take, we don't really need to force any more running backs. I mean, we'll probably take one if we
Right.
like him, but
Yeah, and I love the pick because, you know, I know we missed out Rashad White, but we have, if Gibson doesn't pan out, I like the 2 young backs, you know. That,
yeah. Kenneth Walker, not to spoil it, but he's, you know, there's some sharp people on him. I'm sure it'll kind of get around the fantasy streets, but there's some people drafting him. The kind of the sharp money's going on. So we put Team 12 on a QB, and he took one. I would imagine Team 10 takes a QB coming back around, but who knows? At this point, he can wait. Team 4 still needs one. So Bip, I'm kind of indifferent. If you want to go with one of our tight ends, that's fine. If you want to go with number 2, would be kind of an interesting player here.
There goes a tight end.
Okay, so we see a tight end go, which is kind of a cue where it's kind of like that's like an alarm where.
Yep. I agree with you, but you know, I'm putting back a guy we didn't consider, you know, but I don't know. I
like number 5 a little bit. I see you queued him up.
Number 5. Are you feeling it?
I think he's just got a clear role. I think he could be there's a scenario where he's the number 1 receiver. Number 6 is interesting to me. And number 5 is interesting to me.
And number 10, should we talk about him or just leave him?
I don't see number 10. The last guy I see is a wide receiver in this queue.
Oh, okay. So let's go number 5. Okay.
Let's take number 5. I don't think we're necessarily done there, but he's a guy that I like. He's kind of growing on me. I took him in an NFFC draft the other day. There's some people that really don't like him. He's kind of a late career breakout potential here. He's got a massive contract. The only receiver, Amari Cooper is going to have a role. But at the end of the day, Njoku's like during the preseason when the first team offense was out there, Njoku was played every snap. And Harrison Bryant was kind of looked at maybe 2 months ago like a guy who could kind of cut into the share. But it seems like Harrison Bryant is competing with others, whereas Njoku kind of has the full role. So
No, and then with a bad quarterback play, sometimes those tight ends are valuable from a correlation that I've seen. Bad QBs and tight ends go pretty well, and it's good. Again, we drafted together because that's a guy I don't have a lot of shares of. He's burnt me in the past. He was very athletic coming out of college, just hasn't stayed healthy or realized his potential. But I think once Everett was gone, that's probably a good upside pick.
Shout out to Frank Laprade. Trey still there. I have to quit. Please do not quit, Frank, especially when you're putting together monsters. Uncle Andy had a good question. Does anyone know the history of main event winners and when they drafted? So actually, Fantasy Mojo Darren Armani put out a tweet today showing that this weekend was really a profitable one. I want to say that the Go Bills team, Nick and those guys who won it last year, I think it's Don Bargnani and Nick. Those guys drafted this weekend, and if you guys are listening, please tweet at us and let us know. But I believe they drafted their monster team. It was just unbelievably well drafted team.
Yep.
It was this weekend they drafted. So, to me, it's usually you see teams that do better when they're drafting online than in person for whatever reason. That's just kind of like my takeaway from some of the high stakes leagues, but
it's all over scattered. Like last year, my team that finished and did well, top 10, was drafted in main events in Vegas, and that's the draft. Theo, you remember you said you saw a murder in Vegas or something where I took Javonte Williams.
I never thought I would witness murder in a draft room, but there was a team
next to me.
Yeah, there was a team next to you, and they were desperate for a running back. Desperate. And Bip, I think you took like Javonte Williams as your RB4, and it was like
in
literally
5th round,
ripping their hearts out,
right,
their souls, and you just threw it on the floor. And then you turned to me and my buddy Nima and gave me a little smile because you knew you destroyed your opponent. So
and that team finished top 10, so I remember that draft and the comment you made there. So
we had a nice team in that league. You ended up winning that one, but we were in it for a while. That was a tough draft.
Yeah, you were giving me sweaty days, but the thing is, that's another important thing with these drafts, right? Not leaving value on the board. What we did with Kenneth Walker here in the 11th round. That's why I like it. What we did.
I mean, like 11th round Kenneth Walker, especially end of the 11th round Kenneth Walker. Like, I'll take it, even if he doesn't score a point this year. I think we made the correct decision because if Penny goes down,
11th round, we play waivers very well.
Yeah.
So. And then going back to your conversation, the year before, I forget the player's name, but he drafted who won the main event, not Mike Poreka, but the next year, he drafted his main event in Vegas. So it's all over all over the place. So, and then the main events in the past used to only start August 12th weekend, and now because of the slow drafts, they start in July. So it'll be interesting to see. Looking at what is happening on the board right now, I really like what we did with our 11th and 12th picks there.
And I'm glad that we went with such a wide receiver heavy approach to start because we have 5 wide receivers.
Yep.
And again, we didn't feel like the pressure to take one. We were able to go green in that 9, 10, 11 sweet spot where I think you see some of the upside running backs go. Njoku is interesting. I feel like that was a slightly forced pick, and I think that there's a chance that he finishes behind some of the guys that just went there. I just think he's got that upside. Dan Williamson, not a huge fan. We took our Njoku share, but he was not so happy about it in an NFFC team. We split, so I'm trying to win people over with him a bit. We're kind of wide open coming up. The queue is a little light. I think we should add a few.
I will throw some guys. Yeah. Some players. So I'm throwing some guys out there. Maybe you will see them.
Sure. I might need to refresh this. I have one guy I really like that I think is going to move up that I'm gonna put in the queue. but he'd be one that I'd really like to walk away with.
Sure. Let's see.
Okay, so he's in the queue. He's number 6.
Oh, I was going to tell you about number 6. I am super high on, and maybe that's the pick. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. Number 1 is very, very intriguing. And I think that
yes, I would love to walk away with 1 and 6 in the next 2
I agree
picks.
with you. And then two would kind of be my fallback option.
Love it.
So those 3 guys, I think we're kind of
and
in line
if
on.
6 and 2 didn't happen, I am the third one for me is 5. You know, in that
He's just so boring.
Yeah, he's boring, but you need the floor.
He does make some sense. I agree with you.
Well, with what we have, he might give us a good floor, you know. But
and
let's
then
see.
Number eight's a fun one for further down the line.
Yeah, although, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight.
I put one more in the queue just to consider, not for this pick, but for the following one.
Yep. And I'll throw another guy for later in the draft.
Zamir White went. That's a very good pick there.
Yeah, I had thrown him in the queue. I threw another guy in the queue. He's the last guy, I think, right now. For very late in the draft.
I like the Jacoby Myers pick in the previous round. I think he's like, that team was playing catch up at wide receiver, and I think that Myers was a perfect fit for them to get Gage and Myers there. It's kind of unexciting, but
it's a boring team again.
Yeah.
not the drafter, but I'm talking about the NFL team.
it's definitely not the sexiest team. We see Michael Gallup go. Zamir White went to Austin Martin. Again,
I like what Austin and Frank both are doing there. You know, and they are probably sniping each other. I'm glad we are not next to those teams.
100%. I don't want to draft next to either one of those guys. I don't want to draft next to Frank. I don't want to draft next to Austin. And hopefully,
the draft shark.
You are up next.
International, you and Austin gave me some miseries because I was.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
Picking after you guys.
So KJ Hamler goes. That's an interesting pick. He would have been kind of interesting when we have a Cortland Sutton to take a Hamler, but that's gone. We're going to get 2 of our 3 guys, I think, here.
What do you think 4 will come back? You know, that's my question for you.
Yes, because if you look at Team 12, I believe he will come back.
Yeah, because of that. But let's see what happens here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are aligned.
Again, gosh, the fact that
you are on the clock.
Okay, perfect. We are on the clock.
Okay, so I think he comes back, and I think that number 1 might get taken. This is kind of like a game theory one.
Right.
I think that he's the kind of the last upside play.
I agree with you. I mean, there are other guys, but I really like him this year. Seems like you like him too. So
I think we take number 1, and then I think that if we don't get number 4, I think we apprehensively take number 3.
Yeah, 3 or 2, that's fine. We can talk about
2. I have huge concerns with.
Okay, so no 2.
And I love 2. Like I have 2 in Dynasty. I love them, but I this season could be an absolute mess.
So 3 or 4 will be our.
Okay, so
I'm taking 1.
Let's take number 1. So we're taking Alec Pierce, the wide receiver from Indianapolis, another rookie. So we have 3 of our last 4 picks were rookies, and we also have Drake London. So this is a rookie-centric team, but you can kind of paint a picture where they all beat their ADPs. Tyrion Davis-Price goes. Again, TDP, I drafted a lot early. I have a lot of exposure in Dynasty. It seems like
you are on the clock.
He's kind of behind schedule right now. Mostert goes. We had Mostert in our queue. Okay, so Bip, we take our tight end. We like Brevin Jordan here.
Yep.
Dwayne McFarland had some positive tweets about him. Like we talked about the Nico Collins getting pushed up. Nico Collins and Brevin Jordan have both gotten pushed up.
Yep.
I think that like Nico Collins to me, I also have a ton of Brevin Jordan. I have a ton of Brevin Jordan in Dynasty.
Yep.
I tweeted about it today. I think there's a chance he could be a tight end.
I saw your video. You got me more sold into him, and he's our Dalton Schultz this year.
Yeah, and I think that he's just got a like if you start trying to look at the Texans, like they're all ascending. I think Davis Mills looks a little bit better. Brandon Cooks, people are just very happy to draft whenever they get him. I don't think anybody's like down on Cooks, but it's like the Collins, Jordan, Pierce, all three of them are moving up. They have good offensive tackles play in Houston, and they should have positive game scripts. So like Brevin Jordan's.
Yep.
He's kind of one of my guys, and you never have to go higher. You used to be able to get him cheaper than this.
Yep.
But I'm fine taking him in the 14th round.
And Cooks will get attention, and if Cooks gets hurt, hopefully not. I have a lot of shares of him again drafting, but I struggle taking Cooks in 4th round, and so when I took him before, it was end of 5th or whatnot in Football Guys drafts. No, I like this team, Theo, a lot. I think it has upside. It has high floors, high ceilings, everything we look forward to. If the tight end works out, one of them, I think this is a very dangerous team.
Yeah, I think this team is dangerous. I added one guy to the end of our queue, which is kind of if I think it'll make sense to you because of what we've done.
Yes. Yeah. If you look at my board yesterday, I did something similar.
Okay, so we're both on the same page with that.
Absolutely.
No, just kind of as a structural thing here. Oh, we see Isaiah Likely go. Austin was able to add him to his Lamar Jackson, Rashad Bateman stack. So that's a hat tip to Austin because we probably would have taken Isaiah Likely in the 15th round if he was there.
If he came back. And, after 10th round, I don't know which a very successful dynasty player, not a dynasty player, but a redraft main events player would say, and I've adopted that philosophy, after 10th, I think all the rounds are about getting your guy.
Shout out to Josh McAtee. That's my boy. Very good FFPC drafter. He's doing some main events himself.
Yeah, I drafted against him, I think 2 nights back. It was a very
Josh is a very good drafter. Andrew and I have drafted against him and also discussed teams with him before. So we're a general question, Bip. When you draft a quarterback like Kyler Murray, which we use, usually you're using a 6th round or 7th round pick on. We got him in the 8th because we're running so pure. But if you get an upper echelon quarterback like Murray, are you going to go with naked Kyler Murray and not roster a backup quarterback? I usually kind of do that. But if you feel more comfortable about drafting another quarterback, by all means, we can queue him up.
Yeah.
But
so we can see how the draft probably shapes out. I don't like going a naked quarterback in main events because sometimes, the team that the competition is notorious and they will block quarterbacks, right?
That's a good point.
Because Murray has a week 13 bye, and that's a championship week, Theo. So we will, for us to go to the finals, we need a quarterback that week, right?
This is a good point. I did not consider bye week when I asked you that question.
But I go naked in Football Guys because of the stakes again, because you get it, right? So with main event, if I really like a team a lot, I'm like, I'll find another guy in the waiver, rather have a quarterback, So, but we'll see how this goes. But then, Theo, what I also do is if there are 4 or 5 guys I like and no one's drafting them, I'll probably let it go and take someone week 1 or week 2. So it depends, how the draft shapes out.
So we see Jerick McKinnon and Dearness Johnson go to team 1. We see our first kicker go off the board in Justin Tucker.
Yep.
Jonnu Smith is kind of creeping up a little bit. There's Jonnu believers this year. I think this is a good range for him. We saw last year he kind of disappeared, but they're paying him a ton of money. He's got a big role.
Yep.
The offense should be more fast moving. So that was an interesting pick.
Yep. I do like 6 as an option when we come back, right? When who you had put in the queue.
Yeah.
1 is still there, which is interesting.
To me, I kind of like 2 a little bit more than 1.
Oh, really?
So 1, I don't know. I feel like it's a mess. I feel like you can't depend on him. I think that his role is going to be funny. I think that there's another guy in his position that's going to be worked in. And that other guy was held out while he was playing.
Yeah.
So maybe they're trying to get him.
1 is gone, so we don't need to talk about
Okay,
him.
good.
Saved you.
But
I
Yeah.
actually think one is a very Austin Hooper is a high floor guy. Like you said, he's boring, but I wouldn't be surprised if he catches 60, 65 passes. I mean, Robert Woods was hurt coming back. The rookie is a rookie. I mean, there are mixed reviews there. So someone will have to do their thing there. And he's a red zone monster. Sometimes, that's how I
Yes.
see.
No, I agree with you. He's boring, but sometimes boring is the correct move.
Yeah,
I would
but
also
the
say
good news is I would have been okay skipping him because I do have shares of him.
I'm going to put one guy deep in the queue
Sure.
that would be more of an end game target, but I think there's certain things going on with this team where he might make sense, where there might be an injury ahead of him.
Did you just? I like that. Is it number 9? Who you
yes,
just put
because
in? Yeah.
we also have some
Yep.
it would make sense for us. So Noah Fant goes off the board. That's the guy I was talking about. Like Noah Fant, it seems like Will Dissly, they held out while Fant played, which makes literally no sense. Like I figure, like Fant was the guy that I was drafting early. Trevor Lawrence we had in the queue. I think 4 is the pick if he's there. Number 10 makes a lot of sense.
I would be tempted at some point. Number 1 also, if you look at it.
Number 1 actually makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I just moved him up there. That's why.
But I would say at number 5, and then we'll have our choice of 1 and 10. Like I understand.
I agree with you. I'm with you. Yeah, number 5. The only question I had is, what's your thought on 3 or 4?
I think they're speculative plays. I'm not opposed to them. I'm not opposed to 2, but I feel like we can wait. I feel like we need to keep the foot on the gas and.
Agreed. So and then.
So 5 kind of makes the most sense structurally because it's a.
And you don't think he comes back, is it?
No, I don't think he does. I think we take him. So let's take he's number 6 now in the queue, the wide receiver.
Oh, okay. I was looking at another guy and I'm like, wait a minute,
okay, so
why are you talking about him?
We can talk openly at this point.
No, I'm good with 6. When you said 5, I was looking at another guy, the guy above him, and I'm like, wait a minute, why are you talking about him?
No, that's okay. So 6 is a hedge.
Yeah, I'm taking the receiver. Okay.
Yeah.
No, we are aligned. See, this is good. We talked and you talked about the position, and I'm like, why are you talking about 5 so early?
That's the problem. That's the problem with reading numbers in the queue. Yeah. But so Paris Campbell and Alec Pierce, we've made a bet on the wide receiver 2 in Indianapolis. I think that there's one of them should do well. I don't know how many weeks we'd want to roster them together, but I think that's the kind of thing that we'll know like 4 weeks into the season, kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and I did the same thing last night. Took
it's a good double down.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Derek Carr went. So I think that it makes sense for us to take number 1.
I don't specifically like anyone here. Let's take 1 and have a safe floor there. I think that team will be awesome this year.
And we're not going to give somebody that gift of just getting him.
Yeah, I think they will pass a ton in this new offense. And I mean, 12 did it to not give us the gift.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I didn't want 12 taking Campbell. That's more valuable to us structurally.
No, that's fine. There's one player who I've been drafting a lot that I'd like to get. I'm going to put him in the queue. But I think he's going to have a role to start the year.
Okay, let's see. Drum rolls.
But basically we're at this point, we have 2 tight ends, we have 5 running backs, and we have 7 wide receivers, and we have 2 quarterbacks. So it's a pretty structurally sound team.
Yep.
Shout out, Josh has a comment. Bip, you surprised us with Gabe at 312 in the draft on Wednesday. Maybe you could talk about your process there, Bip.
Well, for me, again, structurally, what you are seeing tonight, I like an anchor RB and pound receivers, in these main events. And, the guy before me just took Sutton and broke my heart. So I went Allen Robinson and Gabe Davis there. I believe in Davis and I'm going to live and die with it. Then regrets. I mean, there were players like Terry McLaurin, Marquise Brown. They were all available, but I just took the guy I believe in. And then I got a free low. But that was a very difficult draft because everyone knows ship chasing with whom Josh was drafting, and so the receivers got all pushed up. Like, people are taking Bateman in 4th round and stuff like that happened. I'll send you the board, Theo.
Yeah, I'd love to
But
take a
that's
look
what
at it.
happened.
I think I saw that board. At the end of the day, like, I mean, you're probably the same way. I'm looking at like 5-6 boards a day. It's awesome. It's all coming at you, different formats. But they sometimes merge together. I have an NFFC silver bullet draft this weekend. So I've been looking at NFFC ones. And then we have like I was saying, we have a main event on Monday night. We're going to be streaming again. The whole Goat District crew. We're in a main event, splitting that together. That should be good.
And no, that's awesome. And what I like about that team is, so I started Adam Swift, Gabe Davis, Allen Robinson, and Elijah Moore made it back. Was not happy with Hawkinson, but Goddard was gone. So all I need in that team, my theory is I now need, and then I got Cole Kmet later. So I just need to hit a running back too to be relevant there. And so I had to grab Pacheco early, which I felt pukish about, but I had Clyde, and so I had to take him. So we'll see how that team works out. But it was a more tactical draft than a good draft, what I have for my standards. It was very, very tactical draft. I was thinking who I'll play here and there and whatnot. But Josh and that crew drafted a great team, from an early slot that I envy. But I didn't have that slot, so.
Yeah, and shout out to Josh. Kudos to Theo for bouncing between sites. That can be tough. Yeah, it's tough. I just feel like it's I've done NFFC longer than FFPC. So
you can do a bare knuckles in your sleep over there.
No.
That's the way I see it.
I'm not doing the bare knuckles thing. But
no, in NFFC, I mean, you almost you came second, right, on the silver bullet couple of years back?
I did. I the first 2 years of the silver bullet, I did pretty well. I was second the first year. Mike Santos won. He's one of the best.
Yep.
And then year two, I was like top 25, and then the last week it fell apart. But that I had a good run, and then last year I had did very poorly.
We competed against each other.
Yeah,
last year.
I had a Diggs Gibson start last year from the 12 hole, and it did not work out very well. Yeah. But this year I'm back. I have the 5th spot. I feel good, and
love the spot.
5th's a great spot in NFFC. 5th's a great spot in FFPC too.
Yes.
But it opens me up to a top player, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited for that draft. Yeah. And then next weekend I have the New York City drafts, where I'll be drafting a bunch of NFFC teams in New York City. It's going to be awesome. So I love this time of year. It's New York City, then Vegas, and online in between. It's just awesome.
Yeah, this is
have a NFFC Super with Dan Williamson and Andrew Schellenberg. We're doing that this week on the 31st. We got the 12 spot. Oh, excuse me. We got the 10 spot for that. So that's a good spot too. With the 3rd round reversal, we should be able to build a really nice team. Awesome. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I think we'll butt heads this year because I'm doing 2 live prime times in Vegas this year.
That one I wish we weren't going head to head in that one. But again, I know that they're hard to move around this late. But that's a brutal draft.
Yeah. One of them, I think Vince. One of them I'm splitting with Vince, who's also a very experienced player of NFFC. But the other one I'm very excited because I'm drafting with John Terry, and he's a very sharp drafter and a very passionate guy. And by passionate I mean when we don't agree, everyone in the floor will know we don't agree. And so it's very fun drafting with John Terry, and I'm excited to pick his brains on that main event. I'm sure he's listening to this part.
I hope you crush in every single league except that the ones we're in, Bib. And we'll have a little battle in Dynasty this year.
Yeah, and it's tough, drafting against players like you or others who have similar philosophies. And because we play Dynasty, I think we like a lot of similar rookies. And I do feel we are more often right than we are wrong. Like the Fryermuth pick last year, I think we were both big into him. Chase, I think we liked him in spite of all the rhetoric. So
I think a lot of the very good drafters also do dynasty. I know that I'm in dynasty leagues with Austin Martin. I'm in dynasty leagues with Glenn Lowy. I'm in dynasty leagues with yourself. I compete against Dan Williamson and Andrew Schellenberg in dynasty leagues, also JD. So it's like they kind of go hand in hand. I mean, if you're really grinding, you're going to do a lot of best ball. You're going to do dynasty and you're going to do redraft. It's hard to get away from it. I don't do any IDP. I don't do that much super flex aside from best ball. I stay away from those, and I don't do a whole lot of auction, which I know a lot of people.
I don't. I think I might have won my Vegas auction last year. That was my first, or I might have finished runner-up. First and last probably. It's intense, but I wanted to focus on main events this year. So
auction just drains you. Like if you could do 2.5 redraft, snake drafts.
Yep.
And you feel less tired than one hard auction league.
Yeah. I went 13-0 because I had cup on it for $16 and some players I hit on, right? But I'm also excited about a 5K big payback that John Terry and I are doing, and all champions are on it. So it'll be an interesting experiential draft, drafting with Austin, Chad, a lot of high stake players are on it. So.
And then for auction players, we actually are having a fantastic auction show this week coming up with Chris Eibel, Jack Hahn, and Dan Williamson doing an auction show. I'll be there probably asking some questions, but I'm very much listening to those guys because Jack Hahn and Chris Eibel are two of the best auction players around. Dan Williamson's also one of the best.
Yes.
So we're happy to do that one. And then I actually will be attending. I draft at 6 p.m. in New York City next Friday night for an NFFC primetime. But in the afternoon, I believe at 2 o'clock is probably the hardest auction league in the country. It'll be Billy Wazowski. It'll be Chris Vaccaro, Michael Edelman.
Yep.
Along with Jack Hahn, Glenn Lowy. It's like maybe 5 or 6 NFFC Hall of Famers with a bunch of other great players. And they have a $2,500 auction. And I just kind of hang out and watch at least, half of it. Last year, it was awesome. It was the first time they did the $2,500 level. It was very cool to see. So BIP, we're coming up.
Yep.
I like number 6.
I like number 6. I really like number 5, although I don't know if we need him here. I think that's the guy you probably put in the kit.
I like 5 and I like number 6. Those would be kind of the two. I think that going with number 6 kind of makes the most sense.
I agree. I would secure that.
I will also throw this out there, Bip. If you want to just take a quick look at number 7's schedule.
So let me just...
You might like them just as much as 6. They both have great starts. I think they're both very talented.
Yeah. I mean, number 7, the only thing that worries me is how that team pans out through the year.
Okay, so if you're more comfortable with,
but then I have a ton of 6, so I'll probably let you make the call here. I'm good with either.
Well, I have a lot of. I'm putting one in the queue just to talk about it. So I have a lot of 7 and I have a lot of 8. I don't have a whole lot of 6, so let's go with 6.
Okay, let's do it. I'm very comfortable. I'm making the
okay, cool.
Done.
So we took the San Francisco defense. I like their early season schedule. I like their defense. I also really like.
I like 7 too. I have a ton of San Francisco and 7. 6 I don't have. Maybe I need to pay a bit more attention.
I think they're loaded in terms of talent. I think they're loaded, and they also have a good early season schedule. So I'm kind of into them.
Well, it's a shootout division, I think, where they play.
Yes, but they also put a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. So I'm open to them. We considered Denver defense when we took San Francisco, but San Francisco defense we were happy to get.
Yeah, I think they might have taken San Francisco, the swollen thighs.
We're kind of wide open here. I like number 5.
We can take 5 here.
Yeah, I think we should take 5. I think it's a good pick.
We can take 5. I don't think he's coming back because otherwise I threw some guys to consider later. But I think 5 has huge upside. Because
I think he's the pick. I think that people were more excited about him
Last
a couple
year.
of weeks ago and last year. So we're gonna take Chris Evans here.
Yep.
So I think that he's like Samaje Perine was held out while Chris Evans played.
Yep.
I think if it was a one, so this is kind of sound like galaxy braining. I think if it was a 1 week absence and Joe Mixon was going to miss 1 week, I think it would be Samaje Perine. But I think if Joe Mixon was going to miss 6 weeks, something significant, I think Chris Evans is the best running back on the roster in terms of talent. Yeah. So I think it could, and even if it was a split, I could see Chris Evans getting the goal line work, and I could see him,
right,
in a split being more valuable than Samaje. So
yeah, and he was a rookie and he flashed. How I have not researched a lot there. How do you see his pass protection?
I think they kind of lean towards Samaje on all the little things like that. But again, right, like Evans has the juice. I think Samaje is kind of a jag that the coaching staff likes. I don't think they're critical of his pass protection. I just think at the end of the day,
I haven't seen anything. And then he's really a good pass catching back. That's where I liked him in Dynasty. I would have loved more touches last year, but yeah, anything can happen. But I mean, I think again, it's all about upside, right? And I like the upside players we have drafted after taking Antonio Gibson.
So I put a few more in the queue for like 20th round consideration.
Sure.
If number 2 is not there, I don't really want to take number 1. I feel like number 1 is like, hey, he's got a role, so we've got to take him.
No, I agree with you. Although I think number 2, the position number 2 plays, I think that should be the target in one of these picks, along with our.
No, I think I agree with you. I think we go 19th round. There, and then I think we go. We'd obviously take our kicker in the 20th.
20th. Yep.
So yeah, it's this time of the draft you start seeing some newer names that people are taking. Right now you see Sony Michel and Marlon Mack. You'll see somebody probably take Trey Sermon.
Yep.
Dontrell Hilliard. People are starting to take a little bit. Ty Montgomery got injured today.
I saw that he was carted, to the locker room. I mean, that doesn't mean anything, but that's what I saw. By the way, you were right. Go Bills replied to your question. They drafted on 8/22 last year.
Good. I didn't see that. Are they in the chat? I'm glad you guys are listening in. Shout out to you guys.
They tweeted. Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. Really, what an impressive run from you guys last year.
Yeah, I don't know if we will again see that kind of a run this year or next few years, because they just crushed regular season as well as, the tournament. Typically, you see a big flip when the tournament happens, and nobody came close to catching that team.
Shout out to Josh McAtee for getting around the paywall. Appreciate that. There might be another guy we drafted on that list too, Josh, which I'm sure you know. He might have been pretty high up there too.
Yeah.
So we see Boston Scott go to Austin.
Scott's still running ahead of Gainwell, although that doesn't mean anything, but I saw Scott play with first team offense ahead of Gainwell,
Now, I think Scott is kind of a thorn in the side. He might be a little bit more of a guy who I think would see role if Sanders went down.
Right.
To me, Gainwell is going to have a weekly role. Like Gainwell's the one that I've liked to draft. I know you have a ton of Gainwell.
Yep, I do. And it was peculiar last year because Gainwell was playing well, started, and then suddenly they don't want to play him. I just didn't get it. Why?
It was weird. They like loved Jordan Howard for a while.
Yes.
But Gainwell was so efficient with his touchdowns. I mean, with his touches, he had like 6 touchdowns last year. You see Dulcich go. So team number 3 has
Smith
and Dulcich.
He's not in the chat, but John Terry is watching this. He was pinging me just now that he loves our Chris Evans pick, and he's like, "Why did we not take him earlier?" Which is interesting. I have to talk to him after the draft.
Frank Laprade went late tight end, and he walks away with Higbee as the one he'll start week 1. and then Jonnu Smith as an upside play, and then Dulcich, who's banged up now, but Dulcich could come through. So I like what he has done.
Yeah, I mean, very similar to what we did there, but I still like the two tight ends we drafted, over those three players.
I think Jordan's got more of a, like, I think some people might look at Jordan as kind of like the dice roll upside play, but I think he's more solid than some might believe. I think he's going to have a real role. If you look at what Pep Hamilton did when he was in Indianapolis, like his tight ends, he would always have tight ends finishing inside the top 15. He had like, Kobe Fleener and Dwayne Allen and guys like that, and they would produce. So tight end's going to be part of that offense. They do 2 tight end sets, and they've also lined Brevin Jordan up at like halfback. They like him, so that's it's a good one.
Yeah, and they will probably play from behind, although that team might surprise a few teams this year. I mean, I think he struggled a little bit with health last year, but if he stays healthy, I have no doubt, he outperforms the ADP. I mean, he can finish as what? Where is tight end 12, tight end 13? I mean, he could be a TE1 this year.
And shout out to Famous Jay. I think you need to be in one. I think there's like a list, but they'll definitely be posting the boards. Peter Wiggin, thanks guys. Ran as pure as it's possible to run. Looking forward to meeting you guys in Vegas. Yeah, Peter, come up and say what's up. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Oh, and this is Sean. Never mind. So Peter Wiggin is an alias. Sean, how you doing? The quietest of the Go Bills team trio. Thanks for tuning in, and best of luck, guys. Yeah, the quiet one for sure. Frank is saying, I like Brevin more than all of your tight ends. Well then, Frank, why didn't you take Brevin over Tyler Higbee? You thought he'd maybe come, that would be my only question there. I would take Higbee ahead of Brevin.
I think he felt Brevin comes back because he's going in a 16th round.
Higbee's in a good spot too. You get the free look with Higbee too for week 1. It's a nice thing to have at a tight end spot. Like Higbee, if he's the tight end scorer, the touchdown scorer,
I don't mind Higbee where he took. In fact, if Higbee came back, I don't know, we might have, Alec Pierce we really like a lot, so it would have been a tough one there. He thought he would come back. That's
so Pearson Paris Campbell double down. I like what we did there. I think that one of them is going to be useful. I think that's always kind of a fun thing to do when you double down, when you don't have to spend up, but you still get 2 from the same offense. I think that can work out.
Yeah, and if Pittman got hurt, right, that gives us now 2 receivers that Matt Ryan will probably look at, right?
For sure. And Alec Pierce is a beast. I think that he's kind of moved up. We took him in the pros versus Joes. And I drafted him in the main event as well. When I had drafting out of the 1 spot, I think I took him maybe in the 15th round, but he's moved up slightly.
So now we are up here. Do you want to go number 2?
I think it makes complete sense to go number 2.
Yep.
Unless you want to pivot off of it, I think he's good.
No, let's go. We need that position, right?
So we'll lean into some correlation with Trey McBride. Zach Ertz is 31 years old.
Yep.
And he has a calf thing. Everybody thinks he's trending towards playing week 1. They've made a point of saying, we think he's good to go for week 1, but calves are funny.
You are up next.
And if we get, 4 or 5 weeks out of Trey McBride this year, he could be, knock on wood, he could be Pat Freiermuth, because I think he's a big time player. They use day 2 draft capital on him. Okay, so in terms of kicker, these are not my usual guys.
Okay, who do you like? Or throw your... Yeah, people I like have gone.
Yeah, people I like have gone as well.
I don't mind the guy top of our queue, plays in a dome unless
you are Mr. Minnesota. So if you want to go with him, that's fine. I would also throw out Will Lutz coming back. Is a good kicker and also plays inside, but Sure.
Let's go Lutz. Let's go Lutz. I have
Okay.
a lot of the Minnesota stake, right?
Let's go Lutz. That's good.
Yep, done.
Okay, awesome. So let me get this board up and we can kind of talk it out, kind of what we did. So we started out with Devontae Adams. We followed up with Saquon Barkley. Then we went with Cortland Sutton and Mike Williams at the 3-4 turn. A.J. Dillon in the 5th round, where we considered taking Mooney there, but we kind of game theoried it out. The team 12 was going to take running back. And we played that correctly, and we got Darnell Mooney. We were thrilled to get Drake London at the 7-11. We wanted Kyler Murray and London, and we chose to go with London there, thinking we might lose Murray, but knowing that they were going to take a wide receiver next to us. So I think it was very fortunate that we got Murray there, and we also got London. That was a great run. Then in the 9th, 10th, and 11th, we took Antonio Gibson, beat up asset, but a guy that could have a lot of usable weeks. James Cook, who I'm big into, especially when you get him in this range. I think he was going in the 8th round for a while. Now you're seeing him in the 10th. I think like this is a good pick. I think Kenneth Walker, we were both very happy to get at the 11-11. David Njoku, we took as our tight end 1. We weren't thrilled, but I think he's got a path. Alec Pierce, we both liked a lot. Brevin Jordan, we were super happy to get. We followed up the Alec Pierce pick with Paris Campbell. And then we took Kirk Cousins, the 49ers defense, Chris Evans, Trey McBride, and Will Lutz. Bip, anything to add about this build?
No, I'll say this, and I'm a volume drafter. I think this is one of the best 11th or 12th spot drafts that I have walked away with this year. It wasn't as stressful and difficult as some others where I had to battle it out. So I like the structure. I like players who fell there. Hindsight, a Murray stack earlier would have been great, but I'm not too worried about it. We'll figure it out.
Wheeler busting our chops for not drafting Ashton Doolin to go with the wide receiver 4. Sorry, Wheeler. We're taking the bet on those two. Yeah, I agree with you. This was good. I think that like drafting at the back end in these main events and football guys, I've liked my builds. Again, you've got to have that 3-4 turn out correctly for you.
Right.
When you feel like you're playing catch up. But the 3-4 turn worked out great for us. And I think that kind of made the draft. Getting Sutton and Williams kind of puts you at ease.
And then Dillon coming back.
And then Dillon, yeah. And I think if we did not get Sutton and Williams, and let's say we had to take a Waddle or one of those kind of guys, I think maybe we would have skipped over Dillon, and then we would have just been weaker at RB2. And then we wouldn't have been able to go with the pure upside. You might have had to go with like a Nyheim Hines over one of those guys, a more usable running back. So it all kind of worked out for us. This was a difficult room. I think we're going to have to keep an eye on some waiver wire tight ends.
Yep.
But I'm happy with this build. Even getting Kirk Cousins as our QB2, like Kirk Cousins could easily be a top 10 quarterback this year. So I'm very pleased with it. Shout out to the chat. It was a really, really lit one. Famous Jay. Shout out to Sean. Shout out to Frank. Shout out to Josh. Shout out to Wheeler. It was fantastic. Snooze was in the chat. And yeah, tune in, guys. Monday night, we're doing the exact same thing, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, we're going to do a main event, just like we did tonight, except it's going to be all 4 GOAT District hosts. We do not know our draft slot yet, but it's going to be awesome. And Bip, are you drafting this weekend?
Yes, I am. I'm drafting every day, I think, right now through Vegas. And then I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys. And will the whole crew be there or just you and Dan this year?
Dan and Andrew and I will be in Vegas. Dan and Andrew and I are drafting together. We're drafting a varsity.
Awesome.
And then Dan and I do a main event. We do one main event. And then my friend Nima Nasseri, who you met last year, I split some teams with. And yeah, I'm excited to see everybody. It's really, if you've never been to Vegas or New York City for these drafts, I highly recommend it. New York City's a little less tables, a little more low key, but it's extreme stress. It's an awesome event. But Vegas is like nothing else. There'll be 40 tables drafting at the FFPC. The FFWC is lit. The NFFC is lit. It's a lot of action. You meet a lot of great people. It's kind of like I always say that the high stakes in Vegas, it's kind of like we all do these high stakes drafts and we're so competitive with it. It's almost like being from a foreign country and you get to a big conference and it's all these people who speak your language and it's fantastic. So Bip, this was awesome. I'll split a team with you anytime, my man. I think we put it together well and we had great communication. And maybe next year we'll do a better job of talking to one another and not being in the same draft because it's kind of low EV to give you money, you know?
Yeah, and then your crew may not like, but this is probably the $1 million team, hopefully, for this year.
I would love for this to be listen, if this is the $1 million team, we can be the runners up, the GOAT District. And Andrew and Gilds and I are also putting up a team that I think could be good.
Awesome.
So I love walking away and being happy with my drafts. I don't think it's overconfidence. I think this is a well-built team. Shout out to JD, who we're going to smuggle him out of Canada one year. And
someday I'll meet him.
Yeah, absolutely. So JD, we'd love to come to Vegas. He says he's going to be there in 2023. Awesome. But we're going to have to get a caravan of truckers to drive him out of Canada or something like that, get him all the way to Vegas. So Bip, awesome drafting with you. Everybody tune into the GOAT District. We'll be back Monday night. And Bip, have a great night. This was awesome.
Yeah, same here, Theo. Thanks for drafting with me and look forward to watching you on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see each other in Vegas. Take care.
Yep. See you. Bye. Good night.